OU, obviously it's ingrained in my blood now with being, originally a Pioneer and now a Golden Grizzly going back over 30 years. So for me, being part of Oakland University was something very special. I remember being an 18-year-old in England and got an offer to come to America from Gary Parsons, who's obviously the godfather of soccer in Michigan, and was very fortunate that he chose me to come over and play at OU.
I mean, we had lots of talent, but I think even more importantly, we had really good chemistry within the team. Everybody was a really close-knit group, so we even outperformed our talent, if that makes any sense, because that chemistry just translated onto the field.
Well, they were a special group in that, winning was really important to that team. It was a team that had a big, solid nucleus of seniors. And whenever you do really well, it's leadership that does it. And those guys were spot on.
It was phenomenal. I think, I've never been with a group of guys who worked as hard as we did. Gary was a whip cracker, if you will, right? So he pushed us very hard. He really allowed us to kind of reach the potential that I thought we had. And we had a lot of great players. Ultimately, a couple of them left in my supposed senior year, right? So coming into that next year, we really weren't sure where we were going to be at. But the guys, gelled well together, and we were very determined and just continued to play well game by game. Our confidence just continued to boost. And I think it obviously, ended very well. Ultimately, we would love to have won the national championship, but it was a phenomenal team of individuals who worked incredibly well together, and ultimately teamwork, as they say, makes the dream work, right? So that was the main motivation for me. I've always, been happy to be part of a team and working together. As captain, just kind of corralling the guys and making sure everybody's head was on straight and they were always focused. So it was a very productive year and just an incredible experience.
Beating Seattle Pacific in the semifinal, which, I mean, on paper, I guess any team could win, but I'm sure that they were favored. So the high of that, carrying that into the final game and going to overtime with Tampa, the host team. So just all of it, the highs and lows, and that was a really special year for sure.
If my memory serves me right, by halftime we were down 3-1. Probably had some choice words to say to the guys at halftime. And we came out in the second half, we scored a goal, made it 3-2, and right away we got scored on again. We were down 4-2 in the second half, so things weren't looking good. And the guys came back, scored two, took it to overtime, and we scored two more and beat them 6-4. So it was a crazy, crazy game.
And then I remember that night we were just going crazy, and we couldn't calm down. It was so hard for us to calm down. I remember going back to the hotel, and for some reason, me and Malai Walton, I feel like maybe Chad Schumacher, a couple of us just started to come up with something that we could just pester the rest of the team, just like kind of do something just to kind of annoy everyone. So what we did is we went around to the hotel rooms and we unscrewed when you look through the keyhole, we unscrewed the keyhole thing, and then when they'd look through, we'd knock on the door, they'd look through, and we'd squirt the water bottle. And not thinking that we could have actually injured someone and they'd have been out for the final, but that was the kind of characters we had.
Just that resiliency of being able to work together and not giving up. Also in the national championship game, our assistant coach Steve Sargent at the time, said something that was very pivotal for me in that game. And he said, hey, go out there and enjoy yourself and have fun, because we were kind of a little worried and upset. We were getting a lot of pressure from Tampa, and that kind of changed a little bit for me during the game. And that a couple of times when some of the shots that Tampa had took, nearly missed the goal, I would look at our keeper Amir, and we would just kind of chuckle and smile and say, "Wow, that was close." But so in the end, we really enjoyed ourselves, and that's a lesson that I've tried to take on throughout life. Is that the only time you're actually really alive is right now. So you have to be in the moment. So in that game, we were definitely in the moment, and we enjoyed it.
My parents were the first and foremost, shapers of who I am. But my coaches throughout the years, my high school coach was Tom Seleska. He was a special man and kind of taught you what it was like to compete. but the staff here at the time at Oakland really did. They kind of take on a surrogate parent for those 4 years. They may not want to, but it is what it is. So, Gary Parsons and Steve Sargent and Ralph Torrey were really instrumental in teaching me the game, but also helping me understand what it's like to compete and how to be successful.
I think first and foremost, my mum and dad and Anita and Jim, they've been everything to me. And I think when you're 18 years of age and you're in a foreign country and your mum and dad, back you to go off and leave them. So I'm thankful for all the time and the support they've given me. Obviously my wife, Lindsay, and my kids, who've been, they've been, ingrained in Oakland since we've been together. And then just like my teammates, and obviously the coaching staff back then, Gary Parsons, the current head coach, Eric Pogue, who's a dear friend of mine, and Paul, and then I think about my teammates like Malai Walton and Ellie Tiomkin and Didi Yankori and Mirtal, Lamar Peters. Like, I know I'm going to miss several, just some amazing human beings that I've, had lifelong friendships with, and very grateful. And again, without Gary making that decision, and without Steve Sargent yelling at me every single day in training, I don't think I'd have been where I am now.
First and foremost, I want to thank my teammates, right? Because I think that is a family, and without them, all of us were needed in that equation. So 100%, to my teammates, to my coach Gary Parsons and Steve Sargent, my assistant at the time as well, and Ralph Torrey. Those were really great guys that did a great job of keeping together. Tom Ford, our trainer. I spent a lot of time with Tom in the training room in my senior year before I got injured. So I was injured quite a bit, but I had a blast with him. He's a wonderful individual and a wonderful friend. So thank you to Tom, and thank you to Oakland University for the opportunity. And then obviously my family, who supported me throughout my soccer career and then during my time at Oakland and beyond. Just incredibly thankful. And I think it's important to put that gratitude out in the universe, because that's what ends up coming back to you.
My wife wasn't necessarily a part of all of that. We were together in college, and she did come down to Tampa to watch those finals games. But obviously, I have to thank her, because without her, I couldn't do what I do now.
That's what OU will give you. That'll give you a fraternity of friends for life. It'll get you. It'll open doors for you in whatever career you want to go into. And Gary's always said this, that if you're a good person and you play at Oakland, then there's always going to be a lot of people advocating for you in the real world.
Enjoy your time. Sometimes you think, hey, I wish things were better, but things are always a lot better than you think they are. So be present, be in the moment. Give 100% to not only yourself and your teammates, right? Your teammates are counting on you. So, you remove the ego and the I from the equation, function as a team, do everything you can to help each other out, and great things will happen. But most importantly, enjoy yourself, because, once you leave college, you'll always look back with fond memories and wish you were still there. So being in the moment to me is one of the biggest, life lessons I think I could pass on.
Is there a message specifically for your 94 team you'd like to say?
Just thank those guys from the bottom of my heart.